Hey.
Hello.
Such a big surprise.
Trey? I know, here we are.
Right into this video.
It just happens. How's it going? How are you?
Doing great. How you doing, Shianne?
I'm doing great. I have been live streaming it up all day, and it has been so much fun. Yeah, I've just loved, I haven't been hosting for most of the day, but I have just loved having all of our different hosts and guests come on and share about their initiatives, and it has been absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I'm looking at the time and seeing that Westminster has been live for more than 8 hours now, which is
Yep, we hit go at 7:50 this morning, so
I've been
and we're going till 9
throughout the day, but it's been nice. I thought the 3D printing was very therapeutic at one point because a bit of a stressful work day, so this is going to be the highlight for sure.
Yeah,
and hopefully will be the highlight of the streaming. Well, I think I'm excited for it. I think we got some great.
Before we get into bringing on our next guest, if we just want to introduce ourselves real quick. So, because I was on the stream earlier, but for anyone who didn't see me or doesn't know me, hi, I'm Shianne, and I am the manager of advancement events, but I'm also a Westminster alum, class of 2015, from theater and honors.
And I'm Trey Hansen. I'm an Errol Flynn lookalike. No, I graduated Westminster with a bachelor's in history in 2016. I serve on the college's alumni board and co-chair our events committee. And yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah. So I am so excited to be bringing in our next guest. So up now we have Dr. Tamara Stevenson, our Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Chief Diversity Officer. So I'm going to go ahead and add her now, and welcome, Dr. Tamara.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm trying to figure out the camera. Okay, are we good?
Yes. Here, I can actually, no spoilers of what we're going to get into, but I can make our videos a little bigger so we have some more room.
Thank you.
Well, welcome. We're so excited to have you here. So I know we have something very fun planned for today. And before we get into that, I just wanted to ask if you could give us just an overview of what we are fundraising for today in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and what these funds raised are going toward.
So again, thank you for this opportunity. I've been peeking into the live stream all day as well. It has just been amazing. I'm enamored, right? I'm enamored at Westminster in general, but today it's just another reminder for me for how Westminster comes together for a common cause. And, I always say we can throw a good party, and this is another example of that. And we're partying for a purpose, if you've ever heard that phrase before. So I'm so excited. So funds raised for the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, or Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Westminster, supports a variety of efforts across the campus, including our diversity lecture series, which has been in place for almost 20 years. So I know we'll get to that a little bit later. But so this diversity at Westminster isn't necessarily new, but clearly has grown over time. It also funds projects formed by students, staff, and faculty. So if a student group says, hey, we want to do this, how can we get this going? I can certainly be a part of that. Our office can. Professional development for faculty and staff, particularly DEI focused, including diversifying the curriculum, decolonizing the curriculum. You may have heard those phrases kind of in the mainstream in the last few months and years. Implicit bias, bringing resources to campus for our campus community through workshops, webinars, particularly as we're in this virtual space for the time being, investing in the infrastructure with research, data collection to inform our policies and practices. For example, this spring will be our very first comprehensive diversity, equity, and campus climate survey. And it's comprehensive because we are including students as well as faculty and staff to get a baseline, if you will, of how our campus community experiences the community, experiences the culture of the campus, as well as the climate of the campus. So what's the difference between the two? Think about the culture as the personality of the institution, right? When you think of Westminster, what is it? Just as your own personality, right? Or when people see you, do they think, well, she's so serious? Or do they say, she's a laugh riot, she'll keep you laughing all day? What is the culture of Westminster, and how do members of the campus community experience that? Then think about the climate of the campus. Think about the climate similar to the weather. Today is an absolutely gorgeous day. This is my kind of day. Utah is known for, it has the greatest snow on earth. I respect that. But I appreciate the warm weather. I have a bias toward the warm weather. And so think about the climate as the mood, right? The mood shifts, the mood changes, the personality is pretty stuck there. It's pretty solid. And so what can we do to improve or make the campus climate consistently welcoming for all who engage us? And that's, again, not just our student, staff, and faculty, but even our alums who come and revisit and participate, our campus community members who come on our campus as well to engage in what we do. So those are that's a small kind of a description of where funding goes, greatly needed.
Great. So I would love to, I think, dive into our fun activity, and then as we go, we'll have some more questions for you and get more into that. But what are we doing today? Can you tell us?
Sure. So Tastin with Tam, inspired by a couple of student workers in the DEI office a couple of years back. And so here's the thing about Tam. Yes, diversity is my life's work. I absolutely love what I get to do. I absolutely love, helping people, think about it, access and representation. But one area of my life that is not diverse at all is my palate. I have the palate of like a 6-year-old. There are babies younger than me who eat much more exotically, and they just have these awesome taste buds. I could go to the finest restaurants, and I have, and we'll order like, well, do you have chicken fingers? Not literally, but sort of literally, right? So it's kind of like, well, this is exactly how diversity happens, right? When we may either voluntarily or involuntarily are put into a space that's so new to us, so different to us. How do we process that? How do we process that mentally, emotionally, physically even? Because that seeming sort of trauma could even live in your body. And so such it is with food for me. And so we did this a couple of years ago, and we're back today. And my palate since moving to Utah has expanded a bit, but I still got way more room to grow. And so I don't know if I can move the camera, but we have about 5 or 6 bites here that kind of grow in weirdness. So as you're watching the time, right? And then also those challenges too, right? I think we have a challenge connected to this. Like I got to see some gifts if you want me to try something new. So maybe I could just ask you all, do you want to see what's all here, or do you want to just pick one?
I want to see.
I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can. Okay, so.
Okay.
All right. So this is one. So I did not pick any of these. These were things that were brought to me. So
okay.
I don't have any allergies, so I can't even blame that. So this is one. Some kombucha. Edible flowers, courtesy of President Dobkin.
Yep. She talked about those this morning.
This is a big almond cake. I have no idea. It's hard. I don't know what to do. And the piece de resistance, Utah green Jello salad, made by our executive director of human resources, Julie Stone. And I have some Jello horror stories. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
So those are the 5. So where would you like me to start?
Well, I'm not sure what grocers people are going to these days, because I don't usually see these on my shelves. But
So I should probably say I'm skipping this one because I actually do love beets. So these are sweet pickled beets. So I didn't include those because I actually like beets. Okay. So
why don't we set like a donation goal and we'll pick one to tie to it, and I'll be the first to donate. So what do we say? What do you want to choose to start with, Tam?
Me? Let's do the chips.
Do the chips. Okay.
All right. So
back. See, what are we at right now?
Get some Takis. Let's see where we're at.
161, 584.
Well, we have blasted past the original goal of 60 donations. We're at 76 gifts for DEI today. So
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing too. I do not tolerate spicy foods. Well, I'm telling you, it's a palate. It's a toddler palate. I really don't. But I was told that these are more like they're like sour, I guess, savory versus sweet or spicy. So here's how they look. Okay.
Well,
very bright.
So why don't we do this?
Okay.
Why don't we? I would love it if I want you to try and eat those. And as you go through that process, I would love it if you described a little bit about your role at the college in some greater detail, and and talk about some of the data gathering initiatives and some of the really what we're going to leverage that information for as a campus community well into the future. Like, and ultimately how experiences differ across, diverse communities within our institution, and ways that we can look to improve that across the board in an equitable, inclusive way.
So Trey, you want me to try this and try to keep okay.
I do.
This is question. Okay. These are hot chili pepper and lime tortilla chips. And I'm gonna grab my water in case I really need it. Okay. Okay. They're sort of like Cheetos.
Okay.
They're sort of like Cheetos. So is it going to be a slow burn? Can you warn me? Okay.
I don't know, but it makes me want to make you have a fistful.
Oh, no. I'm not going to do that. Okay. So slow burn it, people.
It's starting.
So Trey, you asked about the role of diversity in my role. What do I do? The office was established in February 2016 by my predecessor in response to student activism and and administrative awareness of the need to harness and strengthen DEI across campus. So again, DEI work has been happening on campus in both formal, informal.
I think you have done enough in that realm.
Was.
Woo, it's burning like right here. Formal and informal ways, visible and invisible ways, for a long time, including, I mentioned before, our diversity lecture series has been in place for nearly 20 years. And that series was designed to bring in voices and perspectives. Excuse me, I need some more water. Perspectives and topics. Now my eyes are watering. You can't.
Hopefully everything gets less spicy from here on out.
Right. I don't know. That was a strong start.
Yeah.
Ooh, topics that require attention and challenge the campus community to make productive social change. I think part of your question, Trey, was how I got to Westminster. Do you want me to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I'd really love just to have a better understanding, one, your background, two, kind of how you're approaching the role maybe differently from your predecessors,
Mm-hmm.
the new initiatives that you're looking to champion.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you talked about the survey that we're going to be leveraging to capture data on diverse experiences. And so just kind of more information on your role, your initiatives, and really where you're looking to kind of take the programming.
Sure. So I came to Westminster in 2012 as a postdoctoral teaching fellow in speech. I thought it would be a 2-year commitment. And I thought Utah, I'm from the Midwest. And so I'm used to snow, but I'm also I grew up in a predominantly Black city. And so coming to Utah, which is not a predominantly Black city at all, I wondered, like, can I really do this? And then it's like, well, I will be willing to do this for 2 years, and then I will be on my merry way. So it's 8 years later, and I'm still here. So that says so much about Westminster, that I think it says a little bit about me, that I I can use my life experience to help students, although our students are so much more brave, because I was a commuter student as an undergrad. And so when students tell me their residence life experiences, I'm just blown away at all of that. And of course, our student affairs folks, it's so amazing. And I still love higher ed. I am enamored by it. And so 2 years, and I'm like, okay, fine. Well, after the first year, I was offered a full-time regular position in the communication program and taught in that program until 2 years ago this month, when I was appointed as the interim chief diversity officer after the institutional departure of my predecessor. And, I took a chance. Again, I was coming from faculty, and that's a different kind of work. So stepping into this role, I was excited, but also nervous, right? How would I be able to do this? Thinking of my background in organizational communication. My doctorate is in higher ed administration, but I've always been talking about diversity in some form or fashion throughout my entire 30-year professional career. And immediately, thanks in part to an amazing cabinet, an amazing faculty and staff colleagues who were just so willing to be so supportive, that lifted the pressure to be able to just go through and say, okay, here's what I think is happening. Here's what I think, where we can make some changes. And I think one of the big changes, or one of the big things that I see, is, again, our campus climate survey that's coming forth. Listening to students as they talk about wanting to see themselves represented on campus, both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. And what does that look like? So even coaching faculty and staff on culturally relevant student mental health. So that's one of the major initiatives that's occurred since I started. We are so excited to have been selected by the Steve Fund as part of their Equity and Mental Health on Campus initiative. And this is an 18-month commitment where we are supported by the Steve Fund. And I'll talk about what the Steve Fund is in a minute. Well, we are part of a cohort where we have experts come in. We have a coach who helps us really navigate our campus community on how we can provide those kinds of supports to not just students of color, but all students. Just so you know, the Steve Fund was started by an African-American family on the East Coast, whose son committed suicide, I believe, after finishing graduate school. And clearly, their parents, his parents, figured out that there was some mental health challenges going on, but there weren't as many supports for their son to be able to engage with, particularly in college. And so this fund was started to be able to create resources, provide resources for colleges and universities across the country. And Westminster College is the only institution of its kind as a small private liberal arts institution located in the Intermountain West to be a part of this pilot cohort. So we meet with them monthly. We have a campus team who engages that. So we bring that work back to see how we can embed it in the infrastructure of our campus community.
Oh,
that was a lot.
That is awesome. So I'm over here, I'm watching the YouTube comments. So I just have to shout out what some people are saying.
Sure.
So it's sounding like people are saying either the kombucha or the Jell-O, but then Beth Dobkin says, I don't know that the Jell-O will be helpful. She has some stories about Jell-O.
I do, and I'll tell it, and maybe you all will have mercy, or maybe y'all will say, look, do it. So for every do it, can you just put some dollars behind that do it?
Yeah. I would say anybody on YouTube, if you are commenting and you haven't made a donation to diversity, equity, inclusion yet, go on over to giving.westminstercollege.edu, make that donation, put your money where Tam's mouth is.
Yeah, thank you, Shianne.
Oh, Well, Tam, I love to hear when Westminster is doing new and innovative things and leading in pilot programs that are as important and as impactful as that fund. I also caught one thing earlier that you said, that as a result of either student protest or a student-led initiative, the college has taken steps and actions to start to build out new programming, to listen a little bit better. And I think one thing that's truly remarkable and unique about Westminster College is the tight-knit community, and the fact that we do have such a unique opportunity as an institution to facilitate a real campus culture and be able to actually listen to student concerns directly and take action immediately to look to address that as much as possible. And I'm wondering if you might be willing to share a little bit more information around that, and just kind of share what else we might have been learning in the past couple of years in terms of DEI. And then after that, if you don't mind, the other element that I'm very curious about is, you said you've been here for 8 years. You kind of plotted out your path with Utah being like a 2-year stint. What is it like to oversee a program that's designed around DEI and belonging and other elements when Utah, for the most part, is a relatively homogenous state? Like, how do you kind of strike that balance? How do we as a campus community facilitate DEI when we're facing challenges like that?
Sure. So I think some of the ways that the unique ways I bring to this role is I do try to be candid with students while being well aware of my role as an administrator. So one of the courses I taught in the communication program was organizational communication. Absolutely my favorite course, where we talk about organizations and how organizations exist to survive for themselves. And that there is a tension. There's a tension in organizational survival and the human labor or the human element that goes into this tension. And so it's in some instances, it's like having to pull little levers to try to find the right balance. And particularly for student groups and even staff and faculty groups, quite honestly, who feel like we need to be moving some different levers. So we need to be moving some levers much more deliberately. It can feel like things aren't moving along. The way that I approach this is I'm really looking to say what's happening in our infrastructure. Sure, we have easy wins. I think in the 8 years that I've been here, there has been change in Utah as well. And that there has been an increase in considering race, for example. In our state legislature, there were a couple of bills that went through our state legislature this year in the last couple of years that's bringing attention to racial issues in this state. There are so many things that happen at the state level that impacts what happens on our campus, and how do we navigate that in a way that honors what our mission, vision, and values are, but also takes into account how that's going to impact what we do and how we do it. And so for me, it's as much as I like the big wins and I like the big flashy stuff, I'm really looking at how are our policies and practices being implemented in equitable ways, right? How can we talk about students being underserved, but we don't talk about those students that are being overserved? So let's call out that language, right? And let's find some let's find some balance there, some equity there. I believe one of the segments earlier was with the Legacy Scholar. So I've been a Legacy Scholar mentor since I was a faculty member. And then the question was asked, well, Tamara, you're now this administrator. Are you still going to be a Legacy Scholar mentor? I absolutely will. And I do that, and I check in with my mentors, and because I was a first generation college student. And so I also get to say to them, and as many who will listen to me, here are the secrets on how to navigate higher ed. Here's what you need to do. Here's some encouragement when you feel down, when you feel like you can't make it, when you feel like you're an imposter. Hopefully I'm a voice, and hopefully that voice is being echoed across the campus, that even though you may feel like you're an imposter, sometimes you're not. I just want you to show up to class. Can you just show up to class? That's 90% of it, right? And so then, but if you can't show up to class, let's figure out why, so we can help with that. And so I think that's also part of what my office does, right? If it's coaching, our student affair, partnering with our student dean of students office on how to help with that. If it's partnering with financial aid, let's figure that out. So many different irons in the fire, if you will, across the campus, for us to be echoing the same message of, you can do this. We're here to support you.
So as we've been talking, we just got 4 new donations just in the time that we've been chatting, which, either this message is resonating with a lot of people. I hope that it is, and I think that it is, or they want you to try some other foods, maybe a little bit of both.
Okay. What do you want?
Let's see. One of those, one of our latest donations came from our college president herself, and she recommends the cake. That interesting, hard little cake.
Okay, so here's what's up. And can I just quickly just talk about why this thing is, right? And well, I guess I did talk about it. Why this? We talked about just learning something new, doing something new. Okay, we already talked about that.
Yeah.
So cultural kind of matter here. I don't know how to eat this. I don't know if I'm supposed to cut it. I don't know if I'm supposed to heat it up. I have no idea. So if this is totally inappropriate, so if anybody knows in the chat and the YouTube, can you just tell me? Because literally I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
I think you just gotta bite in. I don't really know.
So you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't break a tooth though.
Thank you. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay, this is what it looks like.
Ooh.
Actually looks kind of good.
Excellent.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it tastes like a lot of protein in it. So it's like a protein bar, but it's sweet. It's not the worst thing I've tasted, thankfully.
Scale of 1 to 10. 10 being one of the most delicious things you've ever had.
3.4489.
It's very precise.
I know we're almost at the end, so am I really supposed to eat this Jell-O? Can we put a challenge on it?
Can we put a challenge on it? Let's see. I would say if there's one that you want to pick for yourself, but then we can, if we get, I don't know, let's see if we can get 2 more in the next 3 minutes, 2 more donations. We'll try some Jell-O.
Okay.
I'll contribute to the Jell-O fund right now.
Woo! Okay.
Trey's doing it.
While you're doing it, here's the 2 Jell-O stories. When I was a youngster at my grandparents' house back in Detroit, and all of our cousins, it was like summer, and my grandmother made green Jell-O, and so all 7 of my cousins and myself were all sitting around the table in the backyard, and everybody's enjoying their Jell-O, and I take the first bite, and it doesn't stay in my body. Okay.
Well, wait. Before I finish this donation, so I can watch it.
So that's the one. That's the first green Jell-O story. The second green Jell-O story happened in Utah, and it was a Jell-O shot. I have never had a Jell-O shot. I didn't know if I was supposed to chew it or swallow it whole, or so it was just weird and awkward. So that's my 2 Jell-O stories.
Jell-O stories. See, anybody out there? Is anyone matching Trey's Jell-O donation?
Okay.
I just gave some money.
Thank you, Trey. Thank you so much.
Who else that's watching?
It's 2 minutes, 1 minute left.
1 minute left. As we're wrapping up and seeing if that comes in, okay. I just want to thank you for joining us and chatting with us today. I'm going to put this up one more time so everybody knows this is where you go, giving.westminstercollege.edu. And, although, we hit that 60 donation goal, but we can always have more. We're up to 80. And I think that we can just keep raising the bar. We're only at 4:30 p.m. We've got the whole rest of the day ahead of us.
Thank you to everyone who contributed. There were people from that I recognize, so many names I recognize, so many names I did not recognize. If I can shout out a couple of people, including my CDO partners at other partner institutions in the state who contributed. So even with Westminster being a private institution, I'm able to sit at tables with our public higher ed partners, and they have been so generous to allow me to do that. And they also, some of them also contributed today. We're the inaugural diversity pillar of the Mark Miller Subaru Love Promise program. We just found that out in January. And so that'll be a year-long partnership, and the possibilities are endless with that. So I think that's a definite demonstration of they saw and liked what we were doing here. And we're just so appreciative of their support too.
Awesome. I see Maggie commenting on there. Maggie, does that mean that you're matching Trey's Jello donation, making this happen? Oh, Erica's matching the Jello donation. It's happening.
We got one in honor of Tam, so I think you've got to.
Okay, I'll do fast. Okay, so it's kind of like, it's like slime. Okay. Again, shout out to Julie Freestone in HR. Here we go. Okay, it's sort of crunchy.
Crunchy.
That's not the word I expected.
So okay, I think we've made headway. It's like yogurt. It's sort of like yogurt.
Okay.
Very flavorful. And knowing Julie, it's probably so healthy. So you might have a winner here.
Awesome.
1 out of 10. 1 out of 10. I want to know if it beats 3.486, whatever it was.
Better than that.
All right.
Thank you again so much. This has been a delight, and thank you again to everyone out there who donated. And it was wonderful talking to you.
You too. Thank you so much. Keep giving. Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right.